On a warm May evening in 2007, in the peaceful seaside village of Praia da Luz, a young child vanished from her bed without making a sound. Her parents were only a short walk away. The window was found open, the shutter was raised, and within minutes their dream vacation turned into one of the most haunting mysteries of our time. To this day, no one knows what truly happened to 3-year-old Madeleine McCann. No confession, no confirmed sighting, no closure. Just questions, lingering, painful questions that have never been answered. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann is more than just a missing child case. It is a story filled with fear, confusion, investigative missteps, and global attention unlike anything seen before. In this episode, we go back to the very beginning, to the resort, to the timeline, to the night when everything changed. Before theories, suspects, or media headlines, there was just one family, one holiday, and one moment that shattered everything. In late April 2007, Kate and Jerry McCann traveled from the United Kingdom to Portugal with their 3 children, Madeleine and her 2-year-old twins, Sean and Amelie. They stayed at the Ocean Club Resort, a quiet, family-friendly complex known for its swimming pools, tennis courts, and relaxed atmosphere. The McCanns were not alone. They traveled with several close friends, all professionals, most of them doctors. This group would later become known worldwide as the Tapas 7. Every day followed a simple rhythm: breakfast as a group, time at the pool or beach, children's activities, early bedtime for the kids, and dinner at the resort's tapas restaurant. The restaurant was only about 50 meters from their apartment, close enough that the adults decided they would take turns checking on the sleeping children throughout the evening. It was a routine they had followed every night of the holiday. Nothing had ever gone wrong, until the night of May 3rd. On that Thursday evening, the weather was calm and warm. The resort was quieter than usual, with many families inside preparing for the next day. Inside the McCann apartment, the twins slept in their cots. Madeleine slept in a small single bed. The children's bedroom faced a small street. A window with shutters overlooked that street. The front door opened toward the pool area where guests pass by. It seemed like an ordinary holiday setup. Nothing suspicious, nothing unusual. The adults got ready for dinner, unaware that these small details would later be dissected endlessly by investigators, journalists, and millions of people around the world. Now we move into the timeline, one of the most scrutinized sequences in true crime history. 8:30 p.m., the adults go to dinner. Kate and Jerry join their friends at the tapas restaurant. The table is outdoors, but shielded by a plastic windbreak. They can't see the apartment directly, but they believe it's close enough for regular checks. 9:05 p.m. Jerry's first check. Jerry returns to the apartment. He enters, sees the children sleeping peacefully, and notices nothing out of place. As he walks back to the restaurant, he stops to chat with a man he recognizes from the resort. This interaction will later overlap with a reported sighting of a man carrying a small, blonde child wearing light-colored pajamas. The child is barefoot. The man walks quickly, heading toward the road that leads to the beach. At the time, it means nothing to them. Later, it becomes one of the most debated sightings in the case. 9:30 p.m. The friends check. A friend from the tapas group walks to the apartment, notices that the door is partly open, but assumes nothing is wrong. He does not enter the room and returns to dinner believing all is well. If Madeleine was already missing at this time, the window of opportunity becomes even smaller. 10:00 p.m. Kate's check. The discovery. Kate walks to the apartment, enters through the patio door, and instantly senses something is wrong. The bedroom door is wide open, much more than earlier. A sudden cold draft hits her. She looks at the bed, Madeleine's bed, and sees it empty. Madeleine is gone. The window is open, the shutter is raised, the curtains move slightly in the night breeze. Kate runs back toward the restaurant shouting, "They've taken her!" Panic spreads instantly across the resort. Staff, guests, locals, and friends begin searching everywhere. Pools, gardens, tennis courts, parking areas, beaches, rooftops, and pathways. People call Madeleine's name in English and Portuguese. Flashlights sweep across dark corners and narrow walkways. But in the middle of the frantic search, a crucial mistake is made. The apartment is not sealed off. People walk in and out, friends, resort staff, police, and concerned guests. They touch doors, curtains, beds, and windows, unknowingly destroying fingerprints and footprints that could have been vital. Throughout the night, police search nearby properties and interview witnesses. But border alerts, a crucial step, are not issued until early morning, hours after Madeleine disappeared. If someone had taken her, they could have left the town, the region, or even crossed into Spain long before any roadblocks were set. By sunrise, the trail was already fading, and what could have been a straightforward investigation was now slipping into uncertainty. In the days immediately following Madeleine McCann's disappearance, Praia da Luz no longer felt like a peaceful holiday destination. Police cars, journalists, and search teams filled the narrow streets. The Ocean Club Resort, once full of families relaxing in the sun, had become the center of an international crisis. Portuguese police began questioning staff, tourists, and residents. Officers walked door to door, asking if anyone had seen a stranger, a suspicious vehicle, or anything unusual in the hours before Madeleine vanished. But early progress was slow. Tension began to grow, tension that would eventually shape the entire investigation. From the start, there was a divide between the Portuguese police and the British investigators who soon arrived to support the case. Their approaches were fundamentally different. The Portuguese officers leaned toward a theory of no abduction, believing something might have happened inside the apartment itself. The British investigators, however, were confident that a stranger had taken Madeleine. This disagreement created friction, delays, and sometimes confusion in critical early decisions. As police worked to understand the timeline, they interviewed the friends who had been dining with the McCanns the night Madeleine disappeared. This group became known as the Tapas 7. Each member described their own movements, their own checks on the children, and the order in which everything happened. But soon, small inconsistencies appeared in their statements. Nothing dramatic, nothing that suggested deception, but just enough to complicate the reconstruction of events. Some said the apartment door was slightly open. Others said it was pulled closed. One believed he saw the twins sleeping but wasn't entirely certain. Another recalled hearing the door slammed softly, while someone else didn't. These tiny details stood out because in a case with almost no physical evidence, every minute and every observation mattered.
Meanwhile, attention turned toward a few individuals who seemed unusual or out of place in the days leading up to the disappearance. The first was an odd job worker who had been seen going door to door around the resort. Guests remembered him asking for money, and some described his behavior as unsettling. Police questioned him carefully, but there was nothing solid enough to connect him to the case. Still, investigators kept him in mind. Then came one of the most widely discussed early suspects, Robert Murat, a British man living just a short distance from the McCann apartment. Murat became involved in the search efforts, helping translate for Portuguese police because he spoke the local language. But some journalists felt he was inserting himself into the investigation. They interpreted his helpfulness as suspicious. Within days, Murat's home was searched, his property was examined, his electronics seized, and his movements reconstructed. But once again, no evidence linked him to Madeleine. He was eventually declared innocent, yet his name would remain forever attached to the case, showing how fast suspicion can spread when the world is desperate for answers. As the search continued, the media's interest exploded. News channels around the world ran 24-hour coverage. Newspapers printed new theories each day. Madeleine's face appeared on billboards, posters, TV screens, and magazines across multiple continents. The McCanns were suddenly at the center of the global spotlight. They gave interviews, issued statements, and begged anyone with information to come forward. Public sympathy poured in, and political leaders voiced their support. Even the Pope met the family and blessed a photo of Madeleine. But as media pressure intensified, it came with consequences. Journalists began publishing unverified rumors. Every trip the McCanns made, every interview they gave, and every detail about their lives became fuel for speculation. Gradually, the story shifted from the search for a missing child to debates about the parents themselves. By late 2007, months had passed, and investigators still had no solid lead, no suspect, no motive, no explanation. Out of frustration and possibly influenced by intense media narratives, Portuguese police made a controversial decision. They changed the direction of the investigation and turned their focus onto Kate and Jerry McCann. This shocked the world. Police argued that the lack of forced entry, the open window, and the shifting statements from the Tapas group suggested something else may have happened. They brought in cadaver dogs, which alerted to certain areas in the apartment and on clothing. These alerts created dramatic headlines. But in reality, such alerts are not considered definitive evidence in court. There was no DNA pointing to the parents, no fingerprints suggesting involvement, no witness claiming wrongdoing, no motive, and the twins sleeping next to Madeleine that night were completely unharmed. Still, Kate and Jerry were officially named arguidos, meaning formal suspects in the case. It became one of the most controversial twists in modern criminal investigation history. For months, the world was divided. Some believed the police were closing in on the truth. Others believed the parents were being unfairly targeted in a case that was rapidly collapsing. Eventually, after political pressure and further review, the official suspect status was lifted. The McCanns were cleared. The theory of parental involvement was dropped due to lack of evidence. But the damage had already been done. Public trust in the investigation had been shaken, and the shift in focus cost the case valuable time that could never be recovered. With no breakthrough and no direction, investigators were left with only theories, each one incomplete, each one raising more questions than answers.
In the weeks after the disappearance, Madeleine McCann's case spread far beyond Portugal. It reached televisions, newspapers, and radio stations across the world. Her photo became one of the most widely recognized images on the planet. And with this recognition came something investigators were not prepared for: thousands of reported sightings. The first major reports came from Spain. Several tourists traveling toward the Spanish border claimed they had seen a small blonde girl who looked like Madeleine. Police quickly followed up. They checked roadside cafes, bus terminals, and service stations, but each time, the sightings led nowhere. Then an intriguing report came from Morocco. A woman visiting a market in Marrakesh said she had seen a man carrying a little blonde girl on his back. The girl seemed tired, confused, and dressed in light-colored pajamas, details that matched Madeleine. Hope surged. Investigators flew to Morocco, interviewed witnesses, and retraced the reported sighting. But once again, the trail ended abruptly. No further evidence supported the claim. Sightings continued across Europe, in Belgium, France, the Netherlands, Malta, and even in the United Kingdom. Each report offered a moment of hope before ending in disappointment. In Australia, a woman walking through a supermarket believed she had seen Madeleine. Police investigated, but it was another dead end. Hundreds of children around the world resembled Madeleine's famous photograph. And with global attention so intense, true leads became buried under countless false alarms. The world was searching, but it wasn't finding. By mid-2008, more than a year after Madeleine's disappearance, Portuguese authorities made a quiet but devastating announcement. The investigation was being closed due to lack of evidence. Files were archived, search teams were disbanded, and officially, the case went cold. But for Kate and Jerry McCann, cold didn't mean finished. They refused to let the search stop. With donations from supporters around the world, they launched their own private investigation. They hired former police detectives, criminal profilers, and intelligence analysts. They followed promising leads and dismissed fabricated ones. They traveled, campaigned, and kept Madeleine's story alive. Their relentless efforts sparked new pressure on British authorities, and in 2011, after significant public push, the UK government approved a full review of the case. Scotland Yard launched what became known as Operation Grange, a comprehensive re-examination of everything the Portuguese police had collected. Detectives sorted through tens of thousands of documents, interviews, phone records, and tips. They reorganized the timeline, compared statements, and created new suspect lists. They identified potential witnesses who had been overlooked and began reaching out again. For a moment, it felt like the investigation had new life. Several persons of interest were questioned. One theory suggested a group of burglars might have panicked after being discovered in the apartment. Another pointed to a lone predator known to operate in holiday areas. Police examined cell tower data, rechecked surveillance footage, and tracked down individuals from the original suspect lists. But again, no concrete evidence surfaced. The investigation continued, but answers remained elusive. Then, in 2020, the case took another dramatic turn. German authorities announced they had identified a new prime suspect, a man named Christian Bruckner. Bruckner was a convicted sex offender with a long history of serious crimes, including child abuse, drug trafficking, and burglary. He had lived in Portugal for several years, not far from Praia da Luz. Investigators discovered that on the night Madeleine disappeared, Bruckner received a phone call that placed him in the immediate vicinity of the Ocean Club resort. His known behavior patterns, criminal history, and presence in the region made him a compelling suspect. German prosecutors publicly stated they believed Madeleine was no longer alive, a grim development that reignited global attention. However, despite their confidence, the evidence they held was largely circumstantial. There was no DNA, no physical link, and no confession. Without these, they could not file charges.
Bruckner denied any involvement, and the investigation moved slowly. Years later, he remains in prison for unrelated crimes, while authorities continue to search for definitive proof connecting him to the case. The lack of resolution in the McCann case is not surprising when the early mistakes are considered. Critical evidence was lost in the frantic first hours. The apartment was never sealed. Footprints, fingerprints, and potential traces were contaminated or destroyed. Border alerts were issued too late, allowing anyone involved to leave the region easily. Conflicting witness statements, media pressure, and public speculation caused further delays and confusion. And perhaps most damaging of all, the shift in focus toward the parents cost the investigation months of valuable time. Today, nearly 20 years later, Madeleine would be a young adult. Her parents continue to hold on to hope. Each year, they release statements, reminding the world that they are still searching, still waiting for the truth. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann remains one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries of modern times. A case without closure, a story without an ending. No body, no confession, no definitive explanation. Just a single agonizing question that echoes across the years.